Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the capital. Welcome to the Den. Norwich City in Easter Monday action against promotion-chasing Millwall. The start of what feels like a big week in their championship campaign, maybe the biggest still to play in truth, given that there is an East Anglian derby against Ipswich Town on the horizon. And that, Paddy, feels like a pretty apt place to start, doesn't it? Big week. Obviously, a couple of minutes until the team news drops ahead of this one. But as Philippe Clement has spoken about, feels like a really good opportunity to test where Norwich are at, which players maybe can get close to two teams towards the top end of the division, which ones can't. All of that will lead into his plans in the summer.
Well, I'd settle for where Tom's going with this. 2-2, cracking game. 3,000, they're starting to filter in now. Home areas are set up. Sun is shining. What more do you want? You know, two good teams. We know Millwall are right in the mix now under Alex Neil, but, 2026 would tell you Norwich are rightly up there in the championship. Let's have it. So, I liked the tone Clement set yesterday. You need to be fearless. You need to win your duels. Even if one or two are off it, you get rumbled over here. So let's see if, those players he selects, and we'll find out shortly, will be able to withstand what is inevitably going to be quite a stiff examination. Not only of their technical ability, but also maybe character, belief, bravery, all those elements you need to be a team going at the right end of the table.
Yeah, because it's going to be a sellout here this afternoon at the Den, understandably so, given they are going for Premier League and automatic promotion. They beat Middlesbrough on Friday, and here is the Norwich City 11. Here is how they start this afternoon. It's Kovacevic in goal, Stacey, Darling, Cordoba and Fisher, the back four. Really interesting midfield. It's Pelle Matson and Sam Field are the midfield two, with Kenny McLean, Slimani and Ahmed on the flanks, with Chris Goran up front. And the subs bench: Grimshaw, Medic, Gibbs, Krizene, Wright, Forson, Magoma, Schwartau and Torre. So maybe that midfield is indicative of the type of game that Philippe Clement is expecting this afternoon. So just to run that for you again, it looks like a change of shape. It's Kovacevic in goal, Stacey, Darling, Cordoba and Fisher the back four, Matson, Field and McLean, with Slimani, Ahmed and Chris Goran up front. The subs bench: Grimshaw, Medic, Gibbs, Krizene, Wright, Forson, Magoma, Schwartau and Torre. And Paddy, where else to start but that midfield? We've seen Philippe Clement, he's been pretty regimented in terms of the shape that he's played since he arrived at the club. It's been a 4-2-3-1, pretty set. Now, obviously, we'll have to see what he looks like what he looks like on the pitch. But that clearly, Matson, Field, McLean, his three central midfield players. Is that a signal maybe of what he and Norwich are expecting here this afternoon against a very physical, very aggressive Millwall side led by Alex Neil?
Well, he's not now, with hindsight, he said it yesterday. He said these remaining games will allow me to look at different formations. There you go. And different players with a view to the here and now, but also next season. So, I think wrapped around what we just said earlier, what he said yesterday, they will need to be physically robust. Well, that midfield three should be able to handle that. And I don't think it's a negative. I think it's good. It's good. It shows the flexibility that he's approaching this job. That he's not wedded to a certain formation or certain players within that formation. Needs must today. He feels that midfield area is going to be critical. It's a little bit surprising in the sense that, Millwall, I think, will, like Portsmouth, try and get it long. That is their style. Try and almost bypass midfield. But I guess even in that type of game, you need to have experienced players to sort of bolster the defensive line. And in those three, particularly Field and particularly McLean, they know exactly what coming to Millwall's all about. So, I'm not surprised. I mean, how do you see it further forward of that in terms of the setup?
I'd imagine it would be Slimani on one flank and Ahmed on the other, maybe with Slimani drifting in central, which I guess then would, in theory, open up that flank for Jack Stacey on the right. And maybe that is the thinking in terms of getting bodies in central areas. But certainly out of possession, I would expect that to look like a 4-3-3 with those midfield three, unless, of course, there's he's pushing Kenny McLean into a number 10 position, which maybe is in his thinking, but certainly the way it's laid out in the club's graphic, I think maybe last week showed we can't take everything from that, but it does look like a 4-3-3, which is, the first time we've really seen Philippe Clement change formation, if that is the case, and that is the way that he goes this afternoon from a Norwich perspective. And yeah, it is that Sam Fields inclusion, but also that change in the right back position, Pad, in terms of Jack Stacey. It was one, to be fair, when we were speaking in the car on the way here, you kind of forecasted maybe he would head in that direction. Obviously got Ben Crisene on the bench, a natural left footer, but probably a testament to how well Callum Fisher has done there, that he's happy to keep him there for the time being.
No, for me, he stays in the side now, ideally right hand side, but if not, then he can definitely do that job. You spoke to him after the game Friday. He's comes from a bit of a line of Millwall fans. He was here, he said, watched them before in his youth. He plays very combatively as well, so he's not going to shirk that physical element today. And I did think he might go with Stacey just because of what he said yesterday. You know, he couched it in terms of we need men here. You know, you lose a duel or two. And he's an experienced operator, Stacey, but also physically, you know, he's a big, powerful lad. So I'm not surprised he's gone that route, if I'm honest. And Cordoba was always coming back in because, again, athletically, physically, he should be able to handle the type of threat we expect from Millwall today.
Yes, and we'll bring you that Millwall team in a moment. But yeah, it's a really interesting team selection. And that's it now, isn't it? Because I think we're both in agreement, and probably were, to be fair, from the start, that this season now Norwich have moved themselves away, thank goodness, from that relegation zone and from danger. The reality is there isn't a lot to play for. It is going to be about experimentation. And fixtures like today against teams that definitely do have something on the line and are going to be intense and aggressive, that is an opportunity for him to kind of, I guess, look at something different and also see which players he wants on this journey moving forward beyond the summer.
Which, again, he reiterated yesterday, that's very much his position now. You know, materially, it doesn't feel like there's a lot to play for in terms of certainly top six aspirations. I think that's gone. If it was ever really realistic, they flirted with it for the last few weeks. But he's, whether it's Millwall today, whether it's Ipswich at the weekend, come in, but even the remaining games after that, no, there's very much all to play for in his mind. And I think we know enough about him now. He's not one who's just going to jack off what's left of this season. That's no fibre of Philippe Clement's being. Is that a prospect he would countenance? So those players will know fully, working with him day in, day out, how demanding he is, and they will need to perform in these games now. Otherwise, yeah, I think it's safe to say he will not be sentimental about chopping the players he doesn't feel are going to be part of it moving forward. So if there are one or two, or maybe more than one or two, the jury's still out, then they could probably, they could probably nudge him in a positive direction over this remaining games. But today maybe that's less an issue in Ipswich, but I think over what remains, there's no doubt, there will be players who are maybe on the fence in terms of Clement's own thinking. And we know in the summer they will look to be active, so that's going to bring new blood into the building. Really, he's putting the onus on these players who are right here now. If you want to be part of what I'm trying to build, which is to try and emulate what the likes of Millwall are doing and be pushing for the Premier League next season, then show me you can be part of it. And a game like today and a game against Ipswich are the type of benchmarking tests that will probably give them a lot more circumstantial evidence than Portsmouth at home, if we're honest.
Yeah, agreed. I'm just looking at that shape and that formation. I do wonder, this is just a row shot. I expect it probably to be the 4-3-3 that we've discussed, but I do wonder whether that could end up being a three at the back of some description with maybe Kenny McLean as part of the defensive line. But we will see how it kind of how it maps out. That certainly maybe would be an option with then Stacey and Fisher more as wing backs, which would probably get Slimani and Ahmed in the pitch a little bit more. But again, we will see, and we will only find out once we really see it on the pitch. There's a couple of changes from Millwall. We will bring you their team compared to the win at Middlesbrough, that comeback win, epic, wasn't it? That moved them into second place on Good Friday. Alex Neil has made two changes to his team. They've got Patterson in goal, Sturge, Kramer, Cooper, Taylor, Negley, who scored at Carrow Road on the opening day, Aziz, Coburn, Denore, Cundall, and Barry Bannon starts for Millwall this afternoon. Their subs bench: Crocombe, McNamara, Ballo, Ivanovic, Langstaff, Leonard, Watson, Joe Bryan, and Mizu Sacco as well. And I mean, we know firsthand what Alex Neil can do, particularly in this league, when he gets momentum and when he gets an 11. But it is an extraordinary job that he's done here to get Millwall against some really big hitters financially in this league. Ipswich, obviously the likes of Southampton. I know Leicester have struggled, but you would imagine these, compared to the rest of the division, have a pretty modest budget. To get them as outperforming that and right in the automatic promotion hunt is really impressive from him, and it's a testament to the job that he's done, but equally it's a reminder of what Norwich City are facing here this afternoon.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. And there's no doubt I don't think even inside the camp. I mean, they came to Norwich on the opening day of this season and got the win. But even then, I don't think too many would have realistically forecast with 5-6 games to go that they would be where they are, which is not just in the race, but effectively, if you, as most probably do now, me obviously, Coventry are up, then it's who goes up with them, and they are in pole position. I know Ipswich, we keep hearing they've got these games in hand, but some of those games are very difficult, none more so than next weekend at Carrow Road. So I would rather be in Millwall's position, if I'm honest, with the points on the board. And I mean, if he goes on and seals the job, I think there was some quotes he was attributed to saying that this is the best group he's worked with. I don't know if that's necessarily a slight on the group he had at Norwich, because maybe he's talking about more the characters he's got and achieving way above what maybe the expectations was. But there's no doubt they've built something very special, and you get a sense of that walking to the ground today, that there's a real buzz around this place. And if they were to go on now and get that second position, what a story that is, to get to the Premier League with this group of players, with this club, just underlines again, what a very good manager is, certainly outside the Premier League, and he will be desperate, I'm sure, given, although compared with Farker, he had a real good go at trying to stay up. It wasn't only really that end of that 15-16 season where it kind of went away from him. But
Crystal Palace away,
yeah, exactly.
To be honest.
But it was a real competitive attempt, wasn't it? So he will, I'm sure, feel that is unfinished business for him back in the Premier League. But he's got to get there first, and that's why I'm sure today he will know the scale of the challenge against a Norwich team on the pitch who are doing what they're doing. But obviously he knows that fan base at first hand, and they will turn up here today, for me, expecting a performance. Whether it's good enough, time will tell. But I doubt very much Alex Neil is telling his players the job is done or anywhere near done. So that's why this could be a cracking game today. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, some real attacking options on the bench for Norwich this afternoon as well. I mean, the final three names on that list, really, Magoma, Schwartau, Toure. But I mean, Jacob Wright, we've seen him play in a more advanced role. Amankwa Forson as well, who is predominantly from an attacking perspective. So even though really you're looking at that front three, Slimani, Ahmed and Chris Gorin as kind of your natural attacking options, obviously Jack Stacey will provide. Maatson has scored in successive games. Kenny McLean has upped that kind of goal rate recently. It does now feel like there's some options on the bench to do essentially what it feels like he wants to do here today, which is soak up a little bit of pressure, be quite dangerous on the break, but then equally if you're in a situation late on, and we know he always speaks about going home and away, you've got trying to win a game, different ways to do that. But if you can keep yourself in this game for long periods, then that is some options you've got to bring off the bench to try and change it late on.
Yeah, and I go back to there was that game against Blackburn, I think, when at home recently, where pre obviously injury, but Schwartau changed that game. That was a tight game. There wasn't much in it. It felt like it could go either way. He came on, that running power, that direct style he's got, lifted the players around him and was pretty intrinsic to that result. And as you say, rightly, Connor, he's an option. And also there's one or two others who, probably fall into that category, Toure being the obvious one. So there's no doubt, if this game is in the balance, in contrast to maybe earlier in the season, maybe seasons past, Philippe Clement can turn around and feel, I've got players who can impact this in a positive fashion. You probably even throw Mahoma in there as well. Yeah. So, for me, that's it's a signal again that just slowly but surely he's getting that depth in the squad, which they haven't really had. And, if they're going to challenge next season, they will need to have, absolutely.
Jose Cordova back is huge for Norwich, isn't it, him at the moment, the way he's been playing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think he is now very much the archetypal Clement central defender in the available options. And I include McConville in that. I just think everything he wants in the centre back he brings. It's no slight, maybe it is, but you saw when it was Darling and Medic on Friday, their ability to bring the ball out is vastly different. That stunts Norwich's build-up play for me. It became a very laboured, static. You've got McLean dropping ever deeper. I don't think he necessarily needs to be that deep, and he certainly isn't when he's picking the ball off McConville and Cordova, as has been recently. So he was always going to come back in today, and and I don't think it's probably would be a huge surprise if come the summer they're looking for a defender maybe of a similar profile in terms of central defensively, because I'm not sure Darling or Medic are really Clement-style centre-back. So that is no prior knowledge, but if I was looking at where they're in the round where this squad building could go in the summer, I think another Cordova-style centre-back for me would tick a box, yeah.
I mean, just speak to us about Rory McConville, who's obviously out again today. People will naturally be looking at that East Anglian derby to come on Saturday and wondering about his availability. Where do you think he is ahead of that one?
Yeah, I think he's going to be a big doubt, just from the tone of Clement yesterday. I mean, he more or less gave him the opportunity to sort of say not for today, but maybe for Ipswich, and his reply to me yesterday I felt was more like, well, maybe even Ipswich is going to be a stretch. So, and do you take any risks now with a player who seemingly is going to be a big part of it moving forward? He did clarify it's not the same knee issue he had at Leeds in that collision with Grimshaw. That's a good positive thing, but equally a player of his age with two sort of knee issues in close proximity, you've got to err on the side of caution. So as we stand here, then yeah, I don't know, I would think more unlikely that he plays this weekend than he does, but it was Darling at Portman Road, and if it's Cordova alongside him, I'm not against that, but I think it's pretty evident now. If you line up all the central defensive options in this squad fit and available, Cordova and McConville are head and shoulders. So not to have one of those two is a blow for these type of games, yeah.
Some big games across the Championship today, namely that one that kicks off in about half an hour time towards the bottom. Portsmouth against Oxford feels huge, and then obviously Millwall against Norwich. And I mention that because from Millwall perspective, and Norwich have been in these chases before where you're the early game and maybe you have to go first, and sometimes you have to go last, and the psychology around that. I mean, they are obviously playing now, and then obviously Middlesbrough don't play until 5:30 this evening away at Swansea, and Ipswich obviously in action at 3:00. So from a Millwall perspective, that does add a bit, doesn't it, psychologically, because you don't want to be in a position where you're kind of looking around for the rest of the afternoon. And we know what Alex Neil's teams are like. They're aggressive, and Philippe Clement made reference to this, that he's going to kind of need men today. It's the youngest team in the Championship that Norwich have got. And as we said, it's his opportunity to really see maybe who's on this journey moving forward and who isn't. How do you see it going today, Paddy, in terms of this game of football, and then obviously a score prediction as well?
I just think Philip talked about the tension around this game, and that's really all from a Millwall point of view. I don't think that necessarily is going to impact the Norwich part of the equation here. So, as you map out there, that they know that they can get their blow in first in what is increasingly going to be a very fraught run-in. So I just think that sense of kind of the opportunity is in their hands now. They can almost touch the Premier League. I think that's going to tip the balance. I think they'll win this game. 2-1 home win for me today. But as we said on the pod, I'd take that if, as I feel they will do, turn Ipswich over this weekend, which, as I've seen on social media again this morning, that seems to be the nightmare scenario for a lot of Ipswich fans. That would I, for a minute, suggest that Philippe Clement's side would turn it in here today, but by doing that, losing the game today, that clearly is not advantageous to Ipswich. And then if Norwich turn them over next week, that might be a mortal blow to their automatic hopes. And wouldn't that be a lovely thing at the end of this week?
It would. If only football could work like that, hey, and you could plan it like that. Sadly, particularly in this league, you can't. But yeah, I agree. I think Millwall, given what's on the line today, I think they will get over it. I think it'll be tight though, and I think Norwich will give them a good game, as they have done when they've gone to Middlesbrough, as they have done when they've gone to Southampton recently as well. They were dominant for that second half, really. Probably unlucky to walk away with a defeat. So I think it will be slight, and I'm going to go for a 1-0 Millwall win, I think, this afternoon. But I think they will have enough just to get over the line. We will have all your coverage, analysis and reaction throughout the afternoon over at pinken.com. Paddy will be speaking to Philippe Clement post-game. We will bring you all of those words. You'll be able to watch all of that on our YouTube channel later as well. If you want to follow along the game, I'll be on our channels with the live blog, so you can follow live updates and join the debate throughout. And Paddy, I've got to mention, obviously it's not quite this, but for those maybe who are watching this, we do a podcast, and we are going to do a live podcast very soon. So tell the good folks about that and where they can get their tickets.
Absolutely, yeah. We touched on it on the latest podcast. We're basically going to do that in a live setting. So sadly, it'll be the same dross that we come out with.
Shambles or whatever.
Yeah, shambles. At least we got the team news right this time. True. But not that was our fault. But our fault. We'll move on. We've already reminded the head of comms about that gaff today, but we'll leave that there. But yes, the Yard, lovely city centre location in Norwich. Sunday, May the 3rd. Doors open 4:30, 5 o'clock start. Hour and a half of chat. That's significant because it's the day after the final league game against Hull. So we can put a full stop on what has been quite a challenging at times, but hopefully now optimistic and exciting end to the season. And then map the window, what that looks like in the summer, and then beyond. So hopefully, by this time next season, they're in the same position to Millwall, if not better. So, yeah, come and join us. All the details on the Pinkerton social accounts now, they're pinned on there. If you're a subscriber, you have to be quick though, but there's a discounted offer code which you can get in the newsletter, which we send out every morning to subscribers. So we'd love to see you there. If not, it'll just be us again in an empty room, and nobody wants that, least of all us. So come and keep us company, and hopefully between now and then, more evidence that they're onto a good thing with Philip come on, and then we can all bask in the second part of this season and then what's to come in 26, 27. Yeah. So, yeah, Pinkerton.com or Pinkerton social channels, everything's there.
Yeah, absolutely, and we hope to see you there. It'll be a better backdrop than this with all the wires and whatnot. Sadly, we can't show you the away end to our left because that is filling up, and I can see plenty of yellow and green in there. 3,000 Norwich City fans here today in the capital, and let's hope they have a similar away day to the one they enjoyed at Charlton to cap off what would be pretty. I haven't won at QPR as well. A pretty good few months on the road, particularly in the capital. We've got a nice view of the London skyline over the Dockers stand opposite us, and what a test this is going to be for Philippe Clement's Norwich City as they continue their progress and planning for next season. Pinkerton.com, the place to go throughout the afternoon. Get those live pod tickets, and we'll see you again very soon. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Easter Monday.